even though it's 40 seats, we have the same capacity as Madison Square Garden. Typically, somebody sitting in front of you is worth 250 to 500 times more valuable than somebody who downloads a digital podcast.
What convinced you to make that bet? Jeff Ravilla, the man who built Pod Duty, a live podcast theater outside Pittsburgh where shows are recorded in front of a real audience, known for what he calls the infinite seats theater. The idea that a podcast should be a live event, not a file people listen to alone.
In person is going to trump digital in the future. Digital download is a 2-cent download. It's the Kia Sorrento of connection. But somebody sitting in front of you is $5, $10, $15 profit. That's the Lamborghini. Like, they paid $20 a ticket. I just made $400. You know, that's equally to 16,000 downloads. So as you start to grasp that concept and say, okay, well, what if I have 20 people sitting in my audience?
So, Jeff, you went all the way to buying a building, brick and mortar, to do live podcasting. What convinced you to make that bet?
Well, I fell in love with podcasting, and I have my proof is I have this little color iPod from 2006. It's even engraved for Happy Father's Day.
Wow, that's ancient.
I was, yeah, people just like to see the plug for it. Look how wide the port was. But I fell in love with podcasting in a way that other media hadn't inspired me before. I was back then I had a skateboard shop, and I was doing mail order and selling skateboards all over the world. And I'd be packing orders at like 9 a.m. in the morning and, getting things ready for the UPS person to come. And I'm listening to these great people in digital marketing telling me, about email marketing and building lists and social media. And at the time, probably more videos with YouTube. And I'm getting this great education. And I fell in love with podcasting to the point where from 2010 on, that's all I ever wanted to do. I only talked about making podcasts. I tried my first one in 2011. My trivia show started in 2015, which now airs on like local television. So like this idea of creating, it probably comes from my skateboarding roots, where it's a very DIY, a very independent mentality where you're always trying to like figure out different ways around things, your different problems to solve, different solutions. And that love, really is ingrained in podcasting. It's as independent of media as you can be. Nobody is telling you what to say, what to do, how to do it. It's your asset. It's something you're creating and giving to the world. And I love that idea that power is in each of our hands.
Okay. I'm glad you had all of that inspiration in the podcasting and whatnot, but why go as far as building the building and getting the building and doing this whole theater thing?
Well, kind of the evolution of podcasting is we hear a lot about, is audio dead? Is video the future? And I really think there's this hybrid that's coming where we're seeing a massive revolt of people do not like AI. They do not want it forced down every app, every TV channel has to use our AI, use Rufus to find this. And people aren't enjoying that. And they're also waking up from the fact that maybe these little devices that we carry around are addicting. It's not making the best version of myself. And we're seeing people who want in-person events. So whereas you hear podcasting being talked about as an audio or video medium, I also think it's going to be a live medium in the future. I think as we saw comedians in the 80s go from the back of bowling alleys and Chinese restaurants into comedy clubs, as we saw musicians go from like bingo halls and fire departments, fire halls into theaters and venues, podcasting is going to take that same journey. It's going to get out of the basement, get out of the home studios, and start to go on the road, start to perform in front of people. Because when you look at the math, typically somebody sitting in front of you is worth 250 to 500 times more valuable than somebody who downloads a digital podcast. Somebody who downloads an MP3 file, when you break down the ad revenue, is about 2 cents per person. But somebody sitting in front of you at $5 a ticket, you make a $5 profit. That's 250 times more profitable. So when you look at where is podcasting heading, why would I build this theater? Is because the value for the most podcasters are going to be people sitting right in front of you, not necessarily the digital downloads you get through the podcast apps.
So there's AI is on the rise, and there's people who don't want AI slop, people who don't want to just be connected to the device, and you're betting on the fact that more and more people are going to want actual connection with real people, as well as generally it's just the math is there. When someone buys a ticket, that's going to be more money per head than just a download and streams. So that's the bet.
Yeah, in person is going to trump digital in the future. You're even hearing people like Gary Vee talk about, as we get closer to 2050, it's going to look a lot more like 1850. People really want human connection again. They want to be in the room with other people. They want to laugh with other people. And I probably didn't think this as strongly 6 months ago, but this first half of this year, there is a genuine revolt against technology happening. The temperature of the room has completely changed. There's still people who are AI, everything AI, but the general public is not accepting it. The tide has turned, the tone has turned. People are really getting like, why am I giving all this stuff to this algorithm to hopefully bring me views, to hopefully, boost me up, or, maybe I'll get a little hit of dopamine because one of my videos gets 1,000 downloads. But who am I building that for? Why am I doing all this work for people? Let's look at what else I can do. What's local again? What's in real life again? What's down the street that I can support? Is there a local business? Is there a coffee shop that's slow on a Tuesday afternoon? Well, maybe I can partner with them and do a show there and help bring in some foot traffic. So all these other things we're going to get back to, these in-person, these community events, that's coming. And it's coming in a way I didn't see a year ago. I see it happening almost like a tsunami, a tidal wave of people looking for this type of entertainment. It's coming towards us. And I think I may actually be positioned to catch a lot of it. So I'm looking forward to the next 6 to 18 months. It's going to be pretty crazy.
I can see the bet now, because there's a lot of people, as you're saying, like revolting against AI technology right now, and you're in the position to take advantage of more people wanting to connect and having live experiences. So on this show, my audience is mainly business owners who have podcasts and want to make it an asset. So it's a lot easier for those particular people to just record at home, like use Riverside. What does why do live? What reason would they want to do live, that particular audience?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I love this question. I was reading through the notes for the show today, and this is a great question to really think about, like, why are we doing this? And the best thing I can do is tell you, this isn't for every episode. These are mostly reserved for special event occasions. Maybe it's the end of season 1, or you're kicking off season 2, a new podcast, you're having a launch party. Maybe quarterly, you want to do a live event. It's not designed for every show. It's designed to sit alongside and complement all the other shows that you're doing, all the other things you're doing. Live is kind of like the gravy. It's the icing on the cake. It's that bonus level that you get to because you've done the other things to build the audience. And if I could touch on the one part that I was talking about earlier, is when you look at server logs from Buzzsprout or from Libsyn, and you look at how many downloads the average podcast gets in the 30-day period, 90% do not get to 1,000 downloads. And why I say 1,000 is kind of like this weird benchmark is ads that are read on a podcast are sold in CPM, cost per 1,000. And typically the rate for a host-read ad is about $20 per 1,000, which if you break it down per listener is about 2 cents. But if you get a ticket sale and you get somebody sitting in front of you, that person could be $5 or $10. So on a per unit basis, why would you want to do in person over live? Well, if you just value things, like we look at a Kia Sorento has a different value than a Lamborghini, right? So a digital download is a 2 cent download. It's the Kia Sorento of connection. but somebody sitting in front of you is 5, 10, $15 profit. That's the Lamborghini. Like, the value of the viewer, the value of the listener is exponentially 250, 500 times more valuable sitting right in front of you than it is digitally. So as you start to grasp that concept and say, okay, well, what if I have 20 people sitting in my audience? All of a sudden, I'm making the same revenue as a podcast with 10,000 downloads, and I'm only performing to 20 people. So the math, like, it really works out when you start to think, like, what is the value of a listener? Who am I building this content for? Is it the algorithm? Is it these digital downloads? Could be bots. You don't know who's all downloading your podcast, but I do know the 20 people sitting right in front of me, they paid $20 a ticket. I just made $400. That's equally to 16,000 downloads. So there's value to going live. Special occasion. You do it once, twice a year. Good news. It covers probably your expenses for the entire year for that podcast. Then everything else is just, there's more gravy. I love gravy. Obviously, I'm big on gravy on this show, but there's a lot of benefits to supplementing your efforts by doing live performances, live shows.
So the live shows isn't like an always thing. It's a special event thing. And the math makes sense per head versus downloads. So a business owner, maybe they have a little bit of an audience. They decide, oh, let's actually go live for like the finale of the season or starting of a new season, or maybe just every now and again, because it could be a good monetary value on that.
Yeah. And a lot of time these are events. Like, we have wrap parties all the time where people bring in full catering. They're buying pizza. They're getting, they're having tables set up with, sterno flames, and they got all kinds of different food stations, like a buffet. They bring in beverages of their choice, adult beverages in some cases. And it's a celebration. It's a party. Let's bring our fans together for this episode. Let's have a good time. Let's have a party. And you see that, that's another benefit to doing this, is building that community, getting face to face with people, seeing, for the audience, they get to see how that host reacts in real time, how they perform, how they think. And for the host, they get to meet their audience. They get to meet the community and, share ideas, thank each other. Like, oh, thanks for listening. Well, thanks for putting out that episode. It really helped me through a dark time, and I just enjoyed it. And I'm so glad to meet you here face to face. Thank you. You don't get that just from a digital download.
I do see that benefit. In fact, as you were speaking, I was thinking about it from a business angle. Could be a networking event, essentially. It's like you have a certain type of avatar for your business. Those are the people that you want to come to the show. And like, those could be potential clients or just potential people that you network with in your space. That could be a strong benefit as well.
Yeah. We've seen events as lead generation. It's, realtors are doing shows talking about some of their listings and hanging out. They'll have an open house. They'll have realtors love adult beverages. So there'll be wine and food service, cheese and charcuterie boards. It's not a bad deal. And you're networking with your clientele. You're potentially using that event to sell a house. You're making 3.5% commission on a $200,000-$300,000 house. Well, that's $6,000. Hey, that was worth doing this event. So you think about it as can you use it as lead generation to meet new clients, get referrals? There's a whole bunch of reasons why you'd want to do a live show.
Yeah, I can see that benefit. I can see that. When it comes to business owners who podcast, what do you think is the biggest mistake that you've seen them make, and what can they do to avoid that?
Yeah, this is the I syndrome, where when they get on the microphone, what they want to talk about is themselves. They want to talk about their business. They want to talk about what they do, but they're not solving any problems for people. They're not connecting with people or figuring out what the audience needs and giving them the solution to those answers. Or like, yeah, hey, I'm the best accountant in my city. I do all these accounting things with numbers, right? They're not saying like, oh, we helped the client. There was a business owner down the street. You know him. He owns the produce stand. We've worked with him he saved $6,000 on his taxes. Like, oh, okay, wait a second. I also own a business. Could I save $6,000 on my taxes? You stop talking about who you are and what you do for clients and what problems you solve. And you get out of that me mentality and start solving problems. Get Q&A. Ask people who are in your industry, in your network, what are your biggest problems? Well, you get an answer back. That's an episode of your show. And that not only helps people who are searching for that answer, but people searching in the future, down the road. How can I solve more problems for more people? Then they'll know that I know how to fix it. Then they know to come to me to get the answers to their problems instead of just talking about their business and their services and what they offer.
Biggest thing is the I syndrome. The people who are focusing on them and their businesses when they should reverse that and focus on solving other people's problems and focus on that as far as through the show. And a benefit comes from solving those problems. It's online. People can find that and associate you with solving that problem. Okay, quick one and then back to the episode. If you're a founder or business owner also running a remote podcast, audio or video, and you're making the descriptions, doing the clips, editing, finding guests, stop that now. That is not your job. You're supposed to be working on the business. The podcast is supposed to feed the business. At ProPod Concierge, you record, we handle the rest. Right now, we're taking on a handful of founders for a full free month. All I ask in exchange is for feedback or a testimonial if we knock it out of the park for you. Now, this isn't for everyone. If you already have your podcast handled and you don't feel like it's taking away from the time and bandwidth that should be working on the business, skip this. There's only a handful of seats available for those that qualify. Once the seats are full, you will be put on a wait list. If you're interested and want to apply, go to propodconcierge.com or click the link in the show notes. Now back to the episode.
Yeah. If you have a client who will do an interview, I mean, that's as good as a testimonial that to come on and, hey, what was your pain point? What did we do? What was the solution? How did I treat you? How was the service? Did you feel better now that we worked together? And if you can get a 30-minute episode out of a client raving about the solution, the tax benefits, the savings, all these things, that's the best business card you could have.
I see it. Now, this live podcasting thing, it seems to be predicated on already having an audience. Is it something possible for someone just getting started? Is that something you recommend?
Yeah, having an audience helps. You're already being established, but we have shows that have never even recorded before do their very first episode on the stage. And we're new. We have a lot of dates open a month. So we probably have 7 to 10 book days, but that means the theater's sitting dark 20 days a month. And so people who talk to me, I'm like, hey, if you want to do a show here, I'm okay if you sell 0 tickets. If you come in on a Monday night, maybe a Tuesday night, it's going to be slow. The lights are off anyway. Let's record a show. Let's get a proof of concept. And then let's think about that over the next 30, 60, 90 days, and then revisit it and see, okay, how can we get that to 10 people for your next episode? And that's what we're trying to do, that rising tide lifts all ships. This is a new form of entertainment. There really isn't the talent pool in Pittsburgh to fill the stage 30 days a night, but we need to start to develop that. And I will work with people. I've done shows with just me and the podcaster on the stage, and that's okay, because that's what we're building, something so much bigger than what you see in front of us that night. What you see then, everybody starts somewhere. In 6 months, in a year, they could be selling that house plus virtual tickets too. They might be doing another 200 tickets virtually. So those little investments, I'm looking at paying off dividends down the road, paying off because we help them establish something. They build an audience. They trust the theater. They trust the process. They want to keep coming back and doing those shows over and over again.
So for someone just starting out, you say that it's better to have an audience. Having an audience helps, but just starting out is more of a bet on the long term rather than thinking a strong benefit early on for live podcasting.
Yeah. I mean, my overhead's low. A couple shows a month cover all my expenses.
Mm.
But what I see, if I see some talent, I tend to, smaller shows are earlier in the week, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday shows. As you get established, I'll move you to Thursdays, to Fridays, to Saturdays, and then we'll start filling that theater, selling more virtual tickets. If you come to the theater and you already have an audience, hey, that's great. That gets the ball rolling early. You're going to feel a lot better having 25, 30 people at your first show, and that's something to build on. Can we sell out the next time? Can we start introducing more virtual tickets? Right now, all of a sudden, we're teasing up. Or do you have merchandise we can add on? Do you want to do a VIP meet and greet? We can add that on too, because we know people are showing up. Some of them will pay more to come earlier and hang out. Maybe there's a special, there's charcuterie and wine, right? I was always back to food with me, but there's going to be some other benefit that we can keep teasing up that ticket price, keep teasing up that ticket volume, and keep growing and growing together and see how far we can take it. My hope is a lot of these shows, they grow out of this theater space. They're like, we started there. This is our home base. They'll remember me and always want to come home, but they're going to get to points where they're going to 300 seat theaters and 1,000 seat theaters. That's my dream, to kind of be this launch pad to really get people going, which then only adds to the mystique and the allure of this theater.
You mentioned a few times virtual tickets. What can you explain that?
Yeah, I don't. Is this only an audio podcast? Because if it's video as well, if you look around the stage, there's cameras surrounding the stage, and we have a video switcher. So when people come to the show, they can do just local community-driven events with in-person audience. But some people want to sell a virtual ticket, and since we're recording it anyway, since we already have the video and the audio, we can have a separate type of ticket, a virtual ticket. Whereas if we're in Pittsburgh, where our theater is, and somebody in Florida wants to watch the episode, they usually, for a discounted rate, like a $5 or $10 rate, they can get access to the same show. They watch at home on their computer or laptop or mobile phone, and they're getting the theater experience wherever they are in the world. So even though the theater is only 40 tickets or 40 seats, the virtual aspect is unlimited. It's this, unlimited seat theater. Really, I say this, even though it's 40 seats, we have the same capacity as Madison Square Garden. You theoretically could sell 20,000 tickets out of this little 40 seat theater. Nobody's done that yet. So if anybody wants to try it, let's go.
Okay. That does make sense. So people can buy ticket to watch the show live from home, essentially, right?
Correct. Yeah. In person or at home or wherever you're at. And another cool thing is there's a bar next door. So the people who do buy the in-person ticket, they get a copy of the virtual stream too. And they could actually pull it up on their phone while they're sitting in the theater, walk over next door, order a drink, order some food, get some appetizers, and not miss a single minute of the show. They can go wherever they want and still see it, which is a very unique thing for a theater to offer.
So what about someone who wants to try live podcasting, but doesn't want to do the whole theater thing? Can they do like a live podcasting from home? Is that an option?
Oh yeah, we can absolutely do that. We help people produce shows. We produce virtual events. We've done the Autism Summit with Sarah Bradford a bunch of times. And most of the time, though, if you're not ready to come to the theater, you're not ready to go live, I'll point you in the right direction. I'll give you all the steps and tools to take to get it done and make it happen. And I'll help out where it's needed, because I'm about building relationships and building a future relationship as well. If you're not ready for the stage today, well, whatever you do online may be ready for the stage in 6 months, into a year. You'll come back. You'll be like, hey, I'm ready now. Let's do that show. And that's the thing that I'm trying to build, is building that talent network, that talent pool. And if you're not ready for the stage, maybe you're timid, you're shy, you've never done public speaking before. Well, let's get started somewhere, somehow. Even if you're just recording in the corner of your bedroom, let's start there and figure out, how do we grow that?
Okay. So when working with you, you can help them build up to it. What if somebody wanted to just start live podcasting on their own, but they wanted to do it from home? Like, what do you Do you see that as a viable option? Like maybe just as a live stream as a podcast? Do you think that is something someone could do?
For most people, I think recording live is a convenience to get guests from outside of your from outside of your area. It's a great way to for me to get somebody from Pittsburgh to get an interview from Hawaii or California or Washington because of I'm doing the live stream. For most people who live stream their show, the viewership isn't there for most people.
Mm.
If you go to Facebook or LinkedIn and you set an event, you set a time and you schedule it, chances are if you start at 7 p.m. and you're going to go for half an hour, by the time you're wrapping up, those notifications from Facebook and LinkedIn tend to go out, say, hey, Jeff's live right now, but you're wrapping up. So you typically don't see, for most people, on those platforms like Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube, you're not going to see a ton of live stream audience in that moment. You'll get views after, but it's hard for most podcasters to get that traction. Now, some people who are doing gaming and they do it hours and hours a day, and they're as people trickle in, they're keeping that audience, and more people trickle in, they keep that audience, and they grow it and they grow it. That's a different way to approach live streaming than a half-hour show, than an hour show. Those are very difficult to get traction starting out of the gate. You'll get a couple people here and there, but you'll be able to get the convenience of recording with guests from all over the world, getting a high quality recording and being able to then extract that for your audio podcast or cleaning it up and releasing it as a video podcast.
So generally, it seems that you don't strongly recommend live streaming because it just doesn't work on the notification end, because people are like, you're wrapping up and then that's when people show up. There's just not enough time to get it going.
Well, think about the business model of Facebook, LinkedIn. If you go into a live stream, you typically don't see an ad until you get out of the live stream and you start scrolling through the feed again. So the amount of money these platforms make during a live stream is much less than if you were just in the platform. So I think, and it's just a theory, that it's advantageous for these platforms to kind of send you that notification a little bit later. Send it at a half hour after you start, because you're wrapping up. And then if you go into the platform, you'll watch the replay, and the replays will have ads on them. So I think there's some things playing against you, especially for independent podcasters who aren't going to draw a large audience. They're not going to get those views in the first 30 to 60 minutes. But you do get the other benefits of that. That convenience is a huge win. Being able to make those connections from anywhere and have those virtual guests join you from anywhere in the world, that's hugely advantageous.
Just a thought, just an idea. What if it was like a live stream? What if it was really built up to, like it was made into a funnel, and thus the live event was intentional, bringing people in with like a lead magnet of some sort, a certain promise, and it was built up to for like episodes, and people knows it's coming, people sign up, and then it becomes this live event that has at the end some sort of reward or promise that can be predicated for the audience who shows up, and it becomes kind of like a funnel to lead to a sale. Do you think that might be an interesting idea?
Oh yeah, that's a great strategy. A little bit. I think that's different than recording a podcast. So if you're doing a type of event and you are doing a funnel, maybe you have a list established, you have some ad dollars set aside to build up these shows, to build up these episodes, build up the content that's for the big day. Like, maybe July 25th, I'm having my big day, but between now and then I'll have an episode a week. I'll have a live stream a week. I'll have a podcast a week. I'll have an email campaign a week, all for that one episode where I drop maybe a new product, a new course, a new something. Then, that's a different path, I think. And in the realm of podcasting, and a lot of times I'm talking podcasting entertainment, I'm talking podcasting as a way just to enjoy time or learn something new, learn a skill. But as a business funnel, it's absolutely possible to do the way that you're talking about. It's just, I think it's different than creating an episode of a podcast.
Understood. So In the live podcasting space, and we've already kind of discussed a few different ways this can happen, but how does someone who has a business take the live podcasting, your best example that you can find that you've seen, and turn it into revenue for their business?
Yeah, I'm not even saying you need to come to my theater. When you come to, we do Pittsburgh podcast meetups once a month. We bring in 30 people, 40 people. We buy pizza and drinks. And I start telling people, you don't have to come here. You don't have to have a space like this. And we also live stream that. And I say, people at home, you're not in my hometown. You don't have this theater space here. But you do have libraries that have media rooms. You have bars and restaurants that have back rooms. You have all kinds of civic halls and places. But if you own your own business, that's a great opportunity to do an open house. You do an open house, you invite people in, you say, we're going to record maybe our first episode. You build it up as an event. Now you're bringing people into your business. You're having probably, most likely it's going to be an open house with catering, some sort of food and drink as an enticement to bring people in. Then you're going to have the podcast. Then you're going to get the meet and greet. You're going to get to talk with different people. You're going to network, share, exchange business cards. You can use this platform, this exact blueprint to grow your business within your business. To get some Bose speakers and a couple microphones. You're going to be able to do what I do in your business. And that's great. We talk about that at the meetups all the time. Use these events as training your customers. Like, hey, here's how we connect. Here's what we do with the community. Maybe it's you tie in a fundraiser. Anybody who comes in, we're doing donations, and we're going to give to this charity at the end of the night. Let's see how much we can raise. Now you're tying in the community. You're tying in the people who would maybe need your services. You're talking about the business that you love, and you've made this whole thing, this whole atmosphere inside your own business. Anybody can do this, and that's the beauty of it.
So you see, it is a very strong benefit, building community, building a network, and meeting people to build your business.
Yeah. I mean, that's what all good networking events are, right?
Right.
You're finding the right people to connect the dots to get to the next level. And, somebody in there might not be your right customer, but they may know somebody. You get 30 people to come in. That's 30 people who didn't come into your business yesterday. One or two of them could be that one connection that leads to that next big contract, that next big deal. And that's what you're shooting for. Just, how many times can I go fishing at the pond before I catch the big one? And you're just putting more lures in the water, catching more fish every time you do these types of events.
Can you think of a specific example where that's happened in your experience?
Like it's somebody having it at their own business. I mean, the Pittsburgh podcast meetups that we do are a perfect example of this. These are free events that we promote. We rotate between two locations. We do podcasters and content creators together now. So 1 month is in my theater in Tarentum, and the next month is down in Pittsburgh, in a place we call the South Side of Pittsburgh. And what these are free events. People are there, half hour early. We do buy food and drinks for people. They're exchanging business cards, and I'm booking people from those events on the stage the next month or 60 days from then because of those events. I'm using these community meetups to build the talent for the stage.
In 60 seconds, if you're talking to a founder who's podcasting and they wanted to get started in live podcasting to help their business, what do you recommend they take action on?
In most cases, there's probably things already happening within your industry. So I say start with what's already built. You probably have conferences that are related to your field. You probably have meetups or community gatherings that are related to what you do, or events that are somehow tied together. What I say is start there. Can you be a speaker at one of those places? Can you get on stage in front of the audience? Can you get that recording? Because that recording can start to become bits and pieces of future episodes. But getting those reps in, getting that experience in, getting to talk in front of people, being comfortable on a microphone, those are things that build the foundation, which make a great podcast host. So if you can start networking in that community aspect, go to those conferences, go to those events, make the right connections. Not only could you possibly get on their stage later on, But those connections all can become podcast interview guests in the future, where you can talk about things within the industry, explore new angles, new ways to tackle new problems in the industry. That's where you want to go to get started. When you're ready, then you start to do the recordings. You start to set up your home studio, your home space. Then you start to add in cameras. Then you start to record the video. Then you start going into the live stream. It kind of compounds on each other, and each step gets a little bit easier, but you're doing a little bit more at the same time.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate you coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a lot of fun.
All right. This has been the Founder Podcast Lab. See you in the next episode.